Thank you, Lynn. Leah. Sorry.
That's right.
I didn't recognise you with your mask off.
Yes. Well, I had COVID a week and a half ago, so I've taken it off. So these ones are the submissions. So these are Opex that we've picked up from the submissions of requests and the staff response. So one was the Governor's Bay jetty, and so the request has come through for more support for that. From a staff point of view, that while the staff do not, council doesn't agree to a dollar for dollar match funding approach, it's been requested that staff do recommend that a full and final commitment to the restoration of be made of 815,000, which has an impact of 0.01 on the rates because we'll borrow it for it. Shall I go through all of them and then we'll get to the end if there's any questions? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Akaroa Museum, so a request to increase operational funding of 10,000 per year to ensure that it continues, and staff have recommended that should continue. We haven't put the rates impact because it's so minor. Library book hold. So there's also been a request through the submission in regards to consider removing of the $3 hold fee. And the staff, we have recommended that continues at this stage. We will continue to look at that, but that does a revenue impact of 230,000. And in this stage, we're not in a position to actually cover that in, existing. So we're recommending that stays and don't recommend it. Waterways quality and compliance, implementation of a full suite of initiatives to ensure that we control erosion and reduce settlement going into our waterways of approximately 500,000. The staff are recommending proposing not to recommend that in the sense that given of everything else that we are doing as part of it, to recommend that. Parks operational costs, an additional round submission in regards to an additional round of weed control of approximately 100k and mowing of 50k. We're not recommending that because actually based at that level it wouldn't make any more significant difference, and the recommendation is that it would need 200 and 100k of additional, and it's recommended that we don't proceed with that submission request. And additional regional park ranger resources. To have a discernible impact across regional park activity, a minimum of 2 rangers for this area would be required, total cost of 170k, and at this stage we're not recommending that.
So we do have Andrew
Correct.
and Helen here from Parks and Three Waters, if members also have any specific individual questions in those areas.
There's 2 more. Sorry, you're going through.
Sorry.
There's more.
There's another slide.
There's another.
My apologies.
Another 2 pages.
Sorry.
2 slides.
Keep going.
The Campervan park study in regards to for a caravan park, when that is not recommended at this stage, as all resources are focused on the delivery of the council approved initiatives. So we don't want. That's more about having the ability to do that. Heritage incentive grants. Request for further increase to the levels of that. We are saying that there's still funds available in that regards, so we do not recommend that we increase that. Canterbury Museum operating levy. We've been in discussions with the museum because they are objecting to our feedback that we do not support increasing the levy this year, and we continue to have those conversations with them. However, the staff recommendation is that continues as we have recommended, which is not increasing the operating levy this year. And finally, Edgware Pool is in there. The reason we note this in here is because there was a lot of submissions received for this, and both support, mostly in support, and we're just stating that we do not believe that there's anything that's come through the submissions that would change the status that went into the draft annual plan.
Okay, so I wasn't at the briefing where I think councillors had an initial look at these issues, so I'm really going to sort of ask you the question, Leah. You are looking for councillor guidance as to whether any of these should be included. And I'm unclear, but I'm assuming that some sort of indication was given. So are we able to just clarify which ones councillors generally want staff to do some more work on, including within the plan? So I don't know. Andrew chaired the meeting. I just wondered whether Andrew would run through a general sense check of where that got to, and then we can open it up beyond that.
So there was some informal commentary and guidance provided a couple of days ago, and I don't have notes from that meeting, although I know notes would have been taken. But guidance was provided. Each of these obviously has got a staff recommendation. The two recommended ones, so Governor's Bay Jetty and Akaro Museum, from memory, the staff recommendation on both of those was supported. There was some where there was discussion and there perhaps wasn't such a clear support or not for the staff recommendation. Edgware Pool is the other recommended one. There was support for that to continue to be included. The Canterbury Museum operating levy, the discussions that staff had with the museum, and again, this is from memory, were explained to us, and there was support for the position adopted by staff, realising that we're moving into a new era of a more collaborative and an approach where there's more discussion between the two entities as we move forward. Yeah. The heritage insert. Did somebody take notes?
I've got. Do you want me to take those? So,
if you've got notes, you might
so,
be better to refer to
correct.
the notes than my memory, which is always going to be dangerous.
Okay, so as Andrew has said, so Akaroa and Governor's Bay did receive support based on our recommendations. In regards to the library fines, more information was requested, which we will pull together. Was in regards to the impact on reducing that 230k, because and the impact of that. So we will get some more information on that.
The fines. This is the hold fees.
The hold fees. Sorry, I meant the hold fees. Sorry, it was my wording. So it is the hold fees. So we're getting more information coming on that. We had three.
What additional information do councillors need in order to give feedback on whether the staff recommendation is accepted or not? Sorry, I'm just not clear.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, from $3 to $1.50. Okay. Yeah, it was too. Yeah.
It used to be, it was $2 for quite a long time. Yeah, it'll be interesting to know if the numbers have gone down since it's gone up. Yeah. But it was an equity issue with older people trying to get across town to get books and things.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned also by people in Akaroa that had to
absolutely
book a number of books, and it starts to look very expensive when you've got to book them to guarantee that they're there on a particular trip into town. That was my memory of that particular one.
We looked at reducing the cost.
So rather than reducing it back to the $2 per hold. Okay, so you'll provide some advice on what that will be.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll stick to library book hold fees. So Tim.
It'd be interesting to get some stats from the libraries with regards to, now that we've dropped the fees for late returns, etc. That has because I would imagine, and this is why the information would be good, that the books that are being requested to be held or to move, those that are more popular, currently more popular. So has there been the holding, people getting books requested and moved and held, heightened or increased because that they're slower coming back? Thank you.
Sarah?
Yeah, I think we're supposed to get a 6-month report on the impact of the removal of the book fines. So that's not
that
for
was
months
implemented
yet.
in June, January?
January.
No, we decided then, but it didn't come until maybe March.
March.
Yeah.
March.
Okay.
Only been in place.
It's
2
not
months.
due for a while. Yeah.
April, May, June.
Because there's no
July,
point just
August.
getting a
So
couple of
that's an
months
August,
things where
that's an August
we
report
Omicron
back.
and stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
would it be better to hold off on this decision then until we get that information back? That's what we're doing, yeah. No, we're not.
No, not for that.
No,
That's the staff recommendation. What's been asked for is the reduction of it from $3 to $2 rather than the removal of it.
But I'm saying that if there's going to be a feedback with regards to 6 months on the pattern of lending now that we've dropped the fees with regards to overdue books, has that affected the holding? Has it increased, etc.? So what Sarah's saying is, we're going to get a report back in 6 months on that. So I'm saying that those that are saying that don't support the not recommended, that maybe we should wait until that report comes back and then with that information and make the decision then, because we'd all be more informed.
We could just see if there's any information available.
It's online.
Mary's online, so
Right.
can I invite Mary Richardson to give us a response?
We will put some advice in writing, but in terms of a hold fee, rather than an across-the-board blanket reduction, there's also the option of extending the concession, because currently there is a concession that's available under certain criteria, and if you're particularly targeting something like Akaroa, which doesn't have where people don't have the ability to move to a different library, you could put a rural isolation concession in there, but there will be advice coming back around that.
I'd prefer to wait till the 6 month the report, because I totally agree the isolation, the rural reduction would be good because there are restraints there, but it's not, if the argument is that it's because of elderly not being able to move around town, then that doesn't really help the elderly, does it, in Christchurch?
Mary,
I'd prefer
the
to wait for the
concession
info.
stuff, is that for people like community service card holders and things?
Yes, there's a concession criteria that will is developed and put in, and I just haven't got that in front of me at the moment because I can't do the dual screen. Sorry, but there is that we will send that through.
I'm not going to hold this up, so we're going to get the information on the concession approach, and we're not going to pursue this further beyond that. So that's the concession information that's coming. Well, okay, if you all want to put up your hands about which way we go on this, as I say, I'm going to move relatively quickly through these. So, I'm unsure as to why the concession approach isn't sufficient to
Because
deal
we don't
with
have
this.
we don't have the information. It's an easy bit of information to say if it's $2, then it's like a third of the $3. I mean, it's a really quicker piece of information to get.
So,
and we'd already asked for it.
If we divide,
No, we can easily supply that around the reduction of revenue, but it would only be a prediction because we don't know when the holds would increase. But we can easily provide that information, and we are.
Get more money in.
well, if it's going to reduce the revenue by 2/3, it's relatively easy to sort of, by a third, then you take $70,000 off that figure.
Exactly.
It's a mix, because there may be, if we drop it by a little bit, might get more people doing it, which would increase the revenue. So
And the discussion the other day centred around the cost of actually calculating this thing, and at what point it wasn't worthwhile doing it at all because you'd reduced the revenue to such a low level that
Rapidly
it wasn't having
losing
any
the will
impact.
to live. Sorry, I'm intervening. So, all right.
Come back with more information.
2 pieces of information. We're going to have the information brought back to us that tells us what financial revenue we would expect to receive in FY 20. Well, the revenue impact of a $2 hold fee, and Mary's going to provide us with additional advice on the issue of the concessions and how they might be framed in order to address the specific issues that were raised in the submissions. Can we move on to waterways quality and compliance? That's not recommended.
And I'm going to hand over to Helen.
Wait for questions or follow up?
Just probably what we said on Monday.
There were some questions during the earlier briefing. One of them was if this was reduced to 250,000, could we still do something? And the answer is yes. And then the other question was, what are the qualifications of these people, and can we recruit them? The qualifications are in environmental and resource management or civil engineering with an understanding of the environmental impacts. So they would be similar to the resource consent and compliance officers that Environment Canterbury have. So yes, we should be able to recruit people with those qualifications.
So we
Yes.
Yep. All right. Sam and Yanni.
Can we just clarify though, because I think the conversation the other day was around potentially the building consent.
Buildings guys.
They would sit within the building consent team and work with the compliance officers in there.
Right, but in terms of qualifications, well, I guess what the concern at the time was, are we going to put staff into this area when actually we should be having, if we can get people, they should be concentrating on getting building consents out the door.
These ones won't necessarily be qualified for the building consent inspections as a whole.
Right, but
It's the specialist area for the sediment and erosion control.
So, but I guess the question still is, if we were to bring additional people on board, are these people that could be better suited to help speed up our building consent?
Well, that's a.
It's harder to get building consent officers at the moment. That's the one. That's the really hard.
Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the building consent area, so we're
it's two separate issues. I mean, I think what Sam's identifying is a huge concern around this table around the building consents time frames, which are not meeting their statutory obligations. And we understand that we are not alone in councils around the country that have had difficulty increasing capacity in this area. And we do know that consultants have nabbed a lot of staff from councils around the country. As soon as they're trained up, they're snapped and whisked away. I spoke to the mayor of one of the smaller councils in the region the other day, and literally a person who'd been trained on the job was snaffled up by another council in the Canterbury region after becoming fully trained. So there are huge issues, but the question is are councillors keen to pursue an additional $250,000 around the control of erosion and reducing sediment going into the waterways?
No.
Okay, so those who would like some more advice on this for staff to work it up as part of a proposal, if you just lift your hands, and then I'm just going to do a quick. This is guidance. This is not.
It's just that I've put questions in ahead of this, and I just think before people give guidance, it might be quite useful to hear the response, if that's okay.
What's your question?
It
is.
Cool. So in the LTP, we agreed to put 300,000 and then 500,000 on for sediment. So I'll just quote. The question was, I just want to check how these budgets in the LTP have been used. Is it possible to get an update on how much has been expended versus budget? This is the Healthy Waterways M3A that council allocates 300,000 in 21-22 and 500,000 per annum thereafter for Port Hills and Littleton Harbour erosion and sediment control. And I mean, there's some other smaller ones around arm stream and the facilitator, but just to focus on the sediment, it's not in the advice. And I just wondered if staff could, I don't know, maybe just give an update on how that money's being used, and whether any of that money could also, maybe be redirected or.
Right. Look, I'm going to come back to this one after morning tea. So, given that it is now 11:04, I might as well adjourn for morning tea, because I mean I'm going to have an offline conversation with people about how we manage the process, because we will be here all day if we continue like this. So, and I don't want that to happen. The purpose of the briefing is to front face. I thought that discussions had been had and that people had genuinely got to a point on Monday. So I was misunderstanding the process because I wasn't there. So I do apologise for that, but I was doing other important work at the time. So I will... I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Please go away and get yourselves cups of coffee and various other things to make you feel better. Whoever brings me back a long black will be rewarded by having the first question. And it's 25 past. I want you all back in your chairs ready to go.